Let me introduce our speaker today. We have Christian Cardenas. He is our RFP Systems Manager, and he is amazing. Thank you so much, Christian, for being here today.
Thank you, Ashley. Welcome, RPAG members. My name is Christian. I am excited to take you through the RFP benchmarking suite. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to dive into something. We're going to start off with something that doesn't get a lot of attention, but I think is really important in the benchmarking process, and that is the consultant RFP. Now, if you are subscribed to our premium marketing, uh, plan, you'll see that we have this consultant RFP available in the resource center. So to get in there, you'll go into the content marketing plan. We'll let that load. And then you'll see a category labeled consultant RFP right here on the left side. And essentially, this is a really comprehensive questionnaire that allows you as the advisor to be able to share what you are about. And what it does is it combines all of the information regarding RPAG and kind of the technology that we have uh, supporting you as the advisor. And we put all of that into a really, really extensive questionnaire. We've also given you several other resources on this consultant RFP, like the responses grid, as well as a sample consultant RFP response. So we're going to take a look at a couple of these. So here is the sample consultant RFP response document. You'll see that we do a really good job just kind of breaking everything down. Now, if you work in the defined benefit space, then we do have some pages and information here that will allow you to answer those consultant RFI questions on what you do as an advisor when it comes to defined benefit plans. So you'll see here as I scroll through, you'll see a lot of sections in yellow towards the beginning. And really that information has to do about your firm, really you guys in general, what you're all about, how many AUM you have. So yeah, you'll see here there's a lot of data that we have ready to go here, and all you have to really do is input your firm's name, probably your name, the name of the prospect that you're trying to win, and definitely take some time to kind of read through it and make sure that everything is accurate and you're ready to go with it. Otherwise, RPAG has done a lot of the heavy lifting for you, and you just have to come in here and kind of clean it up with your information. A few other documents we have in that consultant RFP resource. We've got this request for information questionnaire. So this kind of gives a quick little breakdown on what the RFI is going to be about with the questions that are in there. And then another resource we have is the grid responses. So if you want to do a very clear breakdown on why you are the better advisor compared to others that are being compared in that RFI, you can have this grid ready to go. Feel free to offer it and use it as a way to display, hey, these are the services I can provide you as retirement plan advisor. Here are the resources I have, and this is kind of where information regarding RPAG kind of plays along. Your TDF analyzer, RFP Express, the fee benchmarking resources, all of this gets put into the RFI grid responses. So this is a great place to get into when it comes to those of you that are receiving RFIs on who you are as an advisor and how you want to win those plans. So again, that is in the resource center under consultant RFP on the content marketing plan. Now, be advised that you do have to be subscribed to the premium content marketing plan subscription. So if you're not, feel free to reach out to us and we can definitely help get you set up with that. It's a great resource when it comes to consultant RFPs. So again, that's one of our more underrated resources we have in the benchmarking suite. Next, we are going to dive into plan fees. So regarding plan fees, we're just going to hop in through the top menu dropdown, click on plan fees here. Now, if you're not familiar with plan fees, this pulls in data from our Prism report where we pull information from the entire membership and break it down for you into three simple data points. So you're looking at investment costs, you're looking at record keeping costs, you might have some information on TPAs as well as the advisory fee costs. So here we're just going to be able to enter the Prism report once I click on that plan fees link. Now we do have plan fees, Prism 365, which I'll dive in a little bit, which kind of breaks down the benchmarking advisory fees, kind of gets more granular regarding your fiduciary services, meeting frequencies. So it does a really good job breaking down exactly what you're going to be providing your client or your prospect compared to what the universe of averages out there and other advisors are providing. And you have the ability to access existing reports. So I'm going to dive into creating a Prism report. I'll be able to type in my sample client name. Then you can make a selection on your current record keeper. We do have Plan Fees Prism available for 401k plans, 403b plans, and 457b plans as well. And then if this plan is unbundled and has a TPA, you'll want to make sure that you include that information as well. Otherwise, in my sample, I won't. And you'll see that we really require very little information, really not too much. You want to make sure that you have the bare basics. Um, you can work and toggle between basis points and dollar amounts. So sometimes if you're working with a prospect, you might not have all of that information readily available for you. It might be very limited for you as a prospect, but you can still input estimations here as well. So for weighted investment expense, I'll just be inputting some information in here. And then there you go. So once I have all this data ready to go, I can click on Create Prism Benchmark. So what's happening here is the system is looking at the entire RPAG universe, and looks like in our example here, we are comparing our plan with about 2,192 plans. So what's happening right now is we have this plan asset band. So the system has defaulted looking at plans between the sizes of 2.5 million to 4.7 million. Now, I am comparing this against a plan that's at 3.6 million. Now you'll see below that it's really easy to read. So we're looking at my plan in purple, and then we're looking at the low, the average, and the high. So if you're not familiar with Prism and this is your first time looking at this report, really what you have to know is it is very flexible and very easy to customize on exactly what you want to show. So in what I'm saying here is if I really just want to focus on advisory fees, I can uncheck record keeping and investments, and I'll be able to show just the advisory uh, benchmarking universe. So looks like I'm running a little bit high in my example here. So if you're working with a prospect, you notice that they're kind of in the high averages for Prism. You can definitely have that conversation about how you can bring down your advisory costs to be able to bring them more in line with what the rest of the benchmarking universe is on. So about 35 basis points, and you'd be able to show those type of analytics in there. Now, with anything in RPAG, again, we are flexible. We are able to make we're able to make things according to what plan you have in your benchmarking. So if you want to work in the capacity of looking at plans based on their participant sizes, you can do that as well. So I checked the box up here that says plan participants. And now, not only is the system looking at plans between 2.5 million and 4.7 million, but I'm also looking at plans between 40 participants and 80 participants. So you're really able to narrow down what plans you're comparing yours against others in the universe. You'll see that because I use that data point, we're actually looking at about 698 plans that are being compared across the board. Now, for those of you that don't know, the average, the Prism average is really looking at the 50th percentile of plans that fall within that range. And then for Prism, we're looking at the 75th percentile, and the low, we're looking at the 25th percentile. So again, you're able to really customize everything here. And then towards the bottom, you can see that we actually do the math for you on how much savings can be done. And I think that that's a really neat data point that you can point out to your prospect when it comes to running one of these reports, showing how much money you could save them, things like that. Now, what does this report look like once I'm finished? You'll see here is our output. You have a neat title page, then you have your benchmarking analysis, and we really kick it off with what is this report based on? So in this sample report, we're looking at 5 million with 50 participants. It'll list your asset band. And most importantly, it's going to list how big that universe of plans you're looking at is, because a prospect would be interested in looking at a universe of 2,278 plans versus a universe of only 100 or 200. So you really want to make sure that that universe of plans is fairly large. That way you can make a good case on exactly where you can help them save money when it comes to looking at the averages of plans out there. And then the next page we're looking at, we get a few different ways to look at the data that we're seeing here. So you have a pie chart, you've got a bar graph, really able to illustrate how these fees are allocated and what you're spending more on. You're able to look at everything side by side. And again, you have your total savings listed right at the bottom. And then if you go one more page and that last illustration just wasn't enough, you do have this additional page here that just breaks down what the low, the average, and the highs are compared to your plan that's in purple. So yeah, that is the Plan Fees Prism report. Very, very popular report that's used in our benchmarking suite. If you aren't subscribed to it yet, I do not know what you're waiting for. It is one of the best reports that you're going to use out there when it comes to servicing your clients and benchmarking your plans. Now, if you wanted to go one step further and use a report that really breaks down the advisory services that you want to provide your clients and what that's going to look like, we do have our plan fees Prism 365 report. And this is kind of like the next level for Plan Fees Prism. You'll see here on our sample report that it really breaks down the core services of what advisors can bring to the table. We're looking at data points like live bid and RFPs, fiduciary process reviews, education meetings, whether you have any investment fiduciary costs that are built into your advisory services, like 321 or 338. So again, this report gets really granular when it comes to what your advisory services look like. And I think it's a really great add-on when it comes to starting off with your Plan Fees Prism. It's just kind of that next step on a different angle on winning that prospect when it comes to who you are as an advisor. Hey, I can bring these 321 services, or I can bring these 338 services, and here's what that looks like. And it really does a good job comparing that and kind of breaking down those services and fees for you. So yeah, that is our Plan Fees Prism 365 report. Feel free to reach out to me if you have questions on that or the Plan Fees Prism report. So now that we've talked about our consultant RFP and we've kind of dive into the Prism side of things, we are going to make our way into RFP Express. And to be able to access RFP Express, you're really going to click on the menu drop down the top left, and you can then go into the tools, or you can go into one of your clients, and then you can get more granular, go into your plan. And then when you scroll down, you'll notice that there's a Plan Fees Prism link right there. And when you use this link, this essentially pulls in the data from your plan and kind of drops it in there so that way you're ready to go with running a benchmarking report on RFP Express. But before I dive too far into the RFP Express system, I do want to show you a little resource here. We have our provider overview on RFP Express. This is available in the Resource Center under RFP and fee benchmarking category. You'll see that this does a really great job of just telling you all the different providers that are on RFP Express. So at this point in time, we are looking at about 30 providers available and about 60 solutions ready to go. Those solutions range from PEPs and your traditional plans, as well as your exchanges or your turnkey solutions. So definitely give yourself some time to read through this provider overview on RFP Express. That way you know what the thresholds are, what solutions might be available for you depending on those asset thresholds. And this will give you a good idea on what kind of solutions are out there. Now, going back to the RFP Express system, you'll notice that this data is pre-populated. And like I mentioned, I went through the plan portal and I clicked on RFP Express. It brought in all that data and it was able to pull it in. So I'm just gonna access it from the menu dropdown on RFP Express for our example today. And one of the easiest things about RFP Express is there's not a lot of data that you're gonna need to input. So when I hit start new report, you'll see that we really require minimal information compared to the provider analysis report. So you'll see you have your client name, your plan name, you have your report name that you could list, the city and state that your client or prospect is located at. And then we do work in two different functionalities. We have the 401k plans, and then we have startup 401k plans. So feel free to utilize this report for your startup 401k plans out there. Then you have the ability to add advisors that might not be listed on your team. So for those of you working in a home office capacity where you are running reports for your colleagues and other advisors on your team, you can click on this plus icon and you can type in the name of that colleague of yours and their email. And they'll be able to come up and you can add them in there and kind of work in lieu of them. That way you can help generate the reports as needed and specify whether you're doing a client or a prospect. You can list the current provider. Product and platform isn't required, but if you do know those data points, you're welcome to input them. And then the administration. So really simple information. We're just going to type in some plan assets and the participants. Now, contributions and distributions are optional. Now, I understand that a lot of us like to work and use RFP Express when it comes to prospects. You might not have that information on you. So feel free to leave those data points blank. That is okay. And then you have your current fees for the incumbent. Now, starting the report, if you don't know what those fees are, they're not required at all, but please know you can still add that towards the end of creating this report. So when I click on next, we'll just have a couple more questions to answer. How likely was plan moved to a different record keeper? You can specify to the system whether it's likely, very likely you are actually interested in moving this plan, or if it's very unlikely and you're simply running a benchmarking. And then you have your advisor compensation. So you can list the current compensation that is being received on this plan, and then the compensation that you'll want to be included in the pricing. So you can work in both the RIA capacity and the broker-dealer capacity as well. Now, if you're unsure on how much compensation you should be requesting on these bids, feel free to click on this link and use our advisor fee calculator. It does a really great job breaking down exactly, giving you an idea on how much you really should be charging based on data points like education days, travel, services that you're going to be providing, whether you're going to do benchmarking, fiduciary investment reviews, fiduciary plan design. So the advisor fee calculator is a really simple, easy tool to use if you just need to get a good idea on how much to charge for this plan. But without all my rambling, between the first screen and this screen, only takes a couple of minutes to really input these data points. Now at this point, I'm going to click on next. And here's where the magic happens. We have all of our providers listed here. You can see that everyone's in ABC order. We have a variety of different solutions here. You feel free to use our filters if you're looking for a bundled solution or just unbundled solutions. So RFP Express was really made to be as easy and intuitive as possible for our advisors. I think one of the best things about RFP Express has been the use of our PEP solutions. So I know PEPs have been very popular, big talking point these days, and we really created this system, RFP Express, with PEPs in mind, being able to break down the 338, the PPP, the TPA, and the record keeper. So you'll see here are some of our solutions that we have regarding PEPs. But now we're going to kind of dive on what it looks like to make selections on these solutions. So you'll notice that some of these solutions have an add investment expense data point listed there. What does that mean? So essentially what that means is this is an open arc solution. So when I click on view option details, you can see that there's no investment lineup right here, but there is a record keeping cost. Looks like we're getting charged 35 basis points or about $11,912. It is listed as open arc. So essentially this record keeper is telling us, hey, you can select this quote and it's open arc. So whatever funds you want to use, our record keeping costs will remain the same. And that is really, really nice to have if you are working in an open arc capacity. So when I click on compare, you'll see here that I can now add the investment expense and I can tell the system, you know what, I'm going to aim for, let's just say 20 basis points investment expense. When I hit save, you'll see that the math is going to add that 20 basis points to the quote. So now when I come up here, you'll see here we're looking at 35 basis points record keeping, 20 basis point investment expense, and we have a total of 55 basis points for the advisory fee or for the estimated total. So it's really intuitive to use when it comes to adding open architecture quotes. Now, when it comes to unbundled solutions, things like that, you're probably wondering, well, Christian, I have to add a TPA in here. How do I do that? So here on our example, we're looking at Epic and they have their record keeping costs. If you didn't see on my screen before, this is an unbundled quote, but I haven't had a chance to add a TPA cost yet. So when you click on compare and you select that quote, you can now add the TPA to calculate them. Then you get this neat little drop down. Now, if you don't see your TPA, you can definitely just list TPA there and you can input these fees for them. And this will add that right on top. And we did include our most basic form of fee. So you have your base fee per participant, asset charge. And then for an added benefit, you do have the 316 fees as well. So in our example, I'm just going to add about 25 basis points on the asset charge. We'll just do this for only our Epic retirement solution plans. So now that I've added the TPA cost, there you go. We have the record keeping fee at 21. We have the TPA at 25. Investment, advisory, we're looking at 118 total for the fees. So again, we try to make RFP Express as easy as possible for our RPAG membership. So that way you and the team you guys can quote your plan and you can take a look at any turnkey solutions. I know that for those of you, we have our fiduciary path retirement plan exchange solution in here. We have several different PEPs that we have listed here. Now, something to keep in mind is our allocation percentages are fixed. So if you're having that conversation with your provider, your record keeper, and you do need to change those allocation percentages, definitely have that conversation outside of the report. And I'm sure that they'll be able to work with you and adjust pricing as needed. Now, something that has been occurring as of late is we do have advisors out here that are loading that have their own custom solution, but they want to compare it to these other solutions on RFP Express. So if you are one of those advisors that has your own turnkey solution or your own PEP, and you want to have your team compare that exact solution against others, feel free to reach out to me. It is an additional service, additional cost, but we are seeing some activity where advisors they just love seeing their solution on RFP Express, being able to select it. So for example, we'll pretend like this is Census PEP is an advisor solution. And then with their team, they're able to actually compare their own work against others in the market. So it's really awesome to see. We're loving the usage that our membership is getting out of it. Now, just so you know, we did just add JP Morgan to our RFP Express provider list. So here you'll see them there. Looks like Lincoln had an update on their logo, so it's always fun to see those little updates in there as well. I know that Salis just started performing conversion plans, so they used to be just startup plans. Now they're doing conversions. So as your RFP Systems Manager, my job is to make sure that I have a good idea on what is going out there in the market. So if you ever have any questions regarding record keepers and their solutions, feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to answer those questions. Um, Next, we've got your custom quote options. So for example, Meritas, although they might not have any instant quote solutions here, you can still add them as a custom quote. And our record keeper partners have done a great job responding to RFP Express quotes within 48 hours. It is their commitment that they've given to us as a membership to be able to answer these quotes as quickly as possible. You'll see here that this custom quote feature is really intuitive. You simply you tell the system whether you want bundled or unbundled. You select the platform that'll be available. Some record keepers have a ton of different platforms, others don't. So it really depends on who you're working with. Then you have your TPA as well. As I mentioned, if you don't see your preferred TPA listed here, you can just add TPA there, or you can reach out to us and we could work with getting that TPA listed. Next come the investment lineup options. So you have a few different ways of going about custom quotes in RFP Express. You do have our Emeritus Express lineup, or you have our Express lineups. Typically, those lineups are going to be using our standardized FlexPath funds, as well as the FlexPath Target Date series. If you want to be able to use a different lineup, some record keepers have additional options, and you also have your open arc option, as well as proprietary fund pricing. So when it comes to proprietary fund pricing, you do want to make sure that you type out those specific instructions on exactly what you want proprietary. So maybe you have proprietary stable value funds with 2 million, and that will make a difference in your pricing. And you want to be able to make sure that you add those instructions in there when it comes to benchmarking these plans. So a lot of great different features that we're working with on RFP Express, and we're really excited to continue to evolve the system to be the best benchmarking solution that you can find out there in the market. Looks like CUNA Mutual just changed their name to True Stage. So again, you're always up to date with what's going on out there in the record keeper universe. So now that I've made my selections, I know that I have a few out there that I selected. I'm gonna just kind of select a couple more out here. We'll take a look at Power, for example. So I'm gonna scroll down and I'm gonna hit request and compare quotes. Now it's really important when you're doing an RFP Express report to click on request and compare quotes. This sends out a notification email to all the providers that we've listed here, and it gives them a notification that you're either inquiring about their instant quote or you requested a custom quote from them. So really want to make sure you're doing that right. At this point in the stage, we are looking at what essentially our report is going to look like. So we did integrate Plan Fees Prism into this report. It does a really good job giving the Prism average. We are using the 50th percentile. So if you remember, that was the green column there. You'll see here that we get a really good idea on what the plan fees universe looks like on our current plan compared to others that are out there. You do have the option to exclude the incumbent. So why would you exclude the incumbent? You might have the name of the incumbent there, but you might not have a lot of their information. So you might not know what their fees are, their record keeping fees. If you remember early on in the stage, I left these blank. But I did promise you that we are able to edit this information later down the road. Hey, I just had a conversation with the plan sponsor and I was able to get this information in. So I could finally add these fees that I didn't really know what they were. So now I save those fees. System recognizes that, adds them right into the report. So it does a really, really neat job with making sure everything's up to date. On this screen, you can still preview those fund lineups. So it's really important to know exactly what you're getting into. You want to make sure that these lineups do fall under what the direction you want to go with your benchmarking plans. We do list the type of solution you're working with, traditional solutions, your PEP solutions, your exchanges or your turnkey solutions. You might remember I selected Empower, but I forgot to add a TPA. Well, that's okay because I can click on this screen, even though I forgot, I can hit that edit icon, add that TPA in there. And as I mentioned, it's a really easy system to use. You'll find yourself running a ton of different reports, almost having fun. Now, I work in the benchmarking side of retirement for so long. This is kind of my bread and butter. So I love coming in here and showing our membership how easy this is to use. Now, let's talk about Emeritus and the custom quote. When they respond to your custom quote, you will get a notification email sent directly to you as the user that started this report. You will be CC'd with the sales associate that answered from that record keeper, and that kind of acts as your bridge. So it is a really great system when it comes to connecting in with a lot of the different record keepers when you're requesting custom quotes. Now, if I need to run a report right now at this very moment, Emeritus hasn't answered yet. Completely understand. I just asked about 10 seconds ago. So I'm going to remove them for now. And you'll see that they'll be listed down here. So any quotes that you might not want to include anymore for whatever reason, you can take them off and add them back in when it comes to that time. Again, we make most, if not all of our systems as flexible as possible for our membership so that you can give the best possible output and presentation for your client. So at this point, I'm ready to generate my report. I can show my logo, presentation date, and I can hit generate and download report. What does that look like? So we've got our output here. We got your title page. Your disclosures would load at the very bottom. We have a little illustration for your client to take a look at the benchmarking process and what really goes on behind that process. Then you have your plan assumptions. So what are all of these solutions based on? Are they based on asset sizes and what that asset size looks like. Then you have your service provider summary. So it gives you an idea on all of the parties that are involved in each of the solutions. So in this Transamerica solution, you'll see that this is looking like an exchange, which means we're going to have multiple parties. You have your TPA, you have your 316, you have your investment fiduciary. So it's really important to show your client who's going to be involved in servicing your plan when it comes to hiring them. Then you have your total fee summary. A lot of this is very familiar with the provider analysis report. Everything is side by side. You also have your dollar conversions as well on what these basis points look like. We even break out the investment fiduciary fees. So that's really important to point out. Yes, it is a type of advisory fee, but you do want to make sure you have them understand that as a 338, this is an additional service. And you'll even see here, we're looking at this additional cost there. And then you have your fee details that really breaks down what these fees look like. Anything in parentheses is what the TPA is charging. Anything outside of that is what the record keeper is charging. So just kind of keep that in mind when it comes to making these presentations. And then you might be familiar with our provider analysis and our 500 data point questionnaire. And I'm sure you missed that, but we really did condense that down to about 30 data points. Something really quick, really high level overview on what these record keepers bring to the table, what they're all about. Makes it very easy on the client to read through. And then you have your investment lineups with their expense ratios, their scores, what the assumed allocation percentages look like. And then you have your average score here, as well as your average expenses there. And each record keeper gets their own page. And then just towards the end, what we have left is the one pager kind of business summary on why you should do business with one of our record keeper partners, as well as their disclosures. Always make sure you read your disclosures regarding their pricing, just so you have a good idea on what you're getting into. But without all of my talking, RFP Express is really fast, really easy to go through. And we're really excited for making that shift as more and more of our membership uses RFP Express. Now, if you aren't signed up yet, if you want to have a conversation regarding that, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions, and you can also reach out to Luke as well. We are around 15 minutes, and we did want to give some time for our membership to ask any questions. So I think I'm going to open up the floor with that. But I know I didn't have time to go through the provider analysis. And honestly, although it is a very extensive report, I'm always happy to get in touch with you and kind of walk you through that process and what it looks like. There's definitely a need to get very granular in those reports for the provider analysis. Um, if you're looking for something more broad, more overview, you're going to want to use RFP Express. And then once you get to your finalists, you're really going to want to be able to use the provider analysis and really break down those fees. You really want to look at what the fund mapping is going to look like compared to the incumbent going into that new record keeper, the fee comparisons and such. So that really is our benchmarking suite. I hope you got a lot out of that. I always love having these conversations with our members to see what their benchmarking operations look like and how we as RPAG can help enhance them.